Right now. Okay. Hello, guys. This is Vinay from Marketing Discussions, and welcome to the show. Today we have Udit Goenka with us. Udit is an entrepreneur and the marketing mastermind behind PitchGround, GoPBN, and many other ventures. And he has been in the SaaS industry for nearly 10 years now, I guess, building and growing various businesses and two successful exits, as far as I know. So let's give a warm welcome to Udit on this show.
Thank you so much for having me, Vinay and team.
All right. So, Udit, tell us how you got into this industry in the first place and how did your journey got started?
Sure. So I started back very early when I was just 17 years old. I always loved computers, and I think when I saw the computer for the first time in my school, I was probably 9 year old, and I knew I had to do something in computers. Like I didn't know what to do, but I was like, I'm gonna make my career somewhere around in computers. So that's where, like, as time went by, I started learning things, and after I completed my 10th grade, I started learning how to code by watching videos on YouTube and stuff, and developed my very first plugin at quite a young age. It was a WordPress plugin. I think I made quite a good amount of money. I think we did a launch and we did a six-figure launch when I was literally a teenager. Right after that, I sold out my share to my partner and moved on to creating Power Up Hosting, where we were dealing with a lot of VPN companies and a lot of SaaS companies. So my tie with SaaS companies has always been there since basically the start of my journey, because I come from a typical developer background, I would say. So by heart I'm still a developer, though I have adopted and started moving as a marketer since I'm leading the company now. So since then, I've ventured into various ventures and have successfully made about three exits as of now. And currently, you might have heard about PitchGround. It's a great platform where we try and bridge the gap between SaaS companies and the end users, and we try to make sure that we help as many small businesses as possible, making sure that the softwares are really affordable for them. Because if you are gonna start your online journey at any point of stage, you have to make sure that you have softwares, and having affordable softwares is so essential for small businesses that we try and make sure that really happens with small businesses, and so that they can grow their business online today.
Yeah, man. So in the last few couple of years, actually, we have seen a very rapid growth in the SaaS industry.
Hmm.
Lots of people who were earlier working in building agencies or companies has suddenly moved from agency models to this SaaS model. But most of the people who are getting into the SaaS product industry, what they face is a one obstacle they face is marketing. They don't know how to get clients. They can find developers.
Right,
They know how
right,
to develop. They know how to
right.
build great designs, but they don't know how to market. So it is the many people face the challenge of getting their products the first exposure. So I lately I have been active in the communities like indie hacker and mostly developer community on Twitter and all. And this is one of the most challenge, I guess, the most popular challenge people face in this industry. So first thing I want to ask is like, oh, for someone just getting started, what is the first plan of action you would recommend for a SaaS owner?
Great question. I would say the very first plan of action for the owner is to understand where their customers are and what kind of a problem you're trying to solve, and how big
Mhm.
is the problem and how much can you scale up, right? Because sometimes what happens is that you try to build something on top of another platform, and that platform can just release that as an update, right? So your whole business can be out of business in just one day if you're building on something on top of it. So just take an example of Shopify, right? So people are
Yeah.
building plugins and everything, and all the apps on Shopify. Imagine Shopify building something very natively, right? That business will be
Mhm.
out of business right away, because definitely you will. opt for native features of Shopify versus a third-party plugin. So first of all, you really have to understand where your audiences are, what sort of a problem that they are facing, and then build out an MVP. Always do not go ahead and invest all your money and spend 2 years of your life building a product and then going out in the market, because maybe in those 2 years the market might have changed, or there could have been better solutions out there into the market. And that's the number one mistake that I have seen most of the SaaS developers or early SaaS founders they're making. We speak with approximately 100 SaaS companies a week, and this is the most common problem that we see with all of them, is that they try to make it so perfect that it takes them forever to make it so perfect that by the time they launch, there are 100 new similar products out there into the market, and by the time they come in, they have already lost that market cap. So it's very important to understand and go ahead with your idea as quickly as possible, just by making an MVP. Even if you don't want to do that, set up a landing page, start some ads, target some audiences, whatever you want. You can go with a broader audience. You don't have to go with like a specific targeted audience. Just go with a broad audience. Send about 1,000 or 2,000 unique visitors on your landing page, and see how many people are opting in. And when they're opting in, just start your email communication with them, because you will be speaking with direct potential customers who are the best people to really explain their problem. And then once you validate your idea, get your product out there in 2 months. That's it. You cannot spend more than 2 months. On a stretch, 3 months. But if you're building an MVP, it shouldn't be more than 3 months, unless and until you really know your market very well. So I'm purely referring this with regards to the first time founders and first time marketers as well, who are also going to start out. So once you build that MVP throughout there, and now see whether those people who have told about or mentioned about the problem are ready to pay, right? Because that's
Yeah.
another challenge, is to making them take out their credit card and pay them. Because I can tell you my problem all day long, but I might not take out my credit card and pay you, right? So that's very
Yeah.
important to really understand. And once you start seeing some traction, then go ahead and start building a team around it. Because as a sole founder, it's going to be a very tough journey. You cannot build the product, you cannot promote the product, you cannot run the operations, you cannot handle the finances, all of them by yourself. And any founder who has tried to done that all of these things by themselves, they have never been that successful. Because SaaS itself is such a robust business to get into, that there are so many different vertices of running such businesses that you cannot operate alone. So you do need to have a good management and good team of those C-level executives, or whatever you are at the first base. So as soon as you validate your MVP, start finding co-founders, and that will make your journey so much more easier. So if you're a non-technical co-founder, definitely you need to start with a technical co-founder, because you cannot build a tech company without a technical co-founder. So these are the initial things I would suggest anyone starting out as a SaaS founder, or an early SaaS marketer. These are the things that you have to look into all the time.
Perfect. So we hear a lot of time, like uh, in the last, I guess, 18 months, I have personally seen the SEO industry specifically move towards a SaaS industry mindset. Like they want to build
Mhm.
softwares and all that stuff. And has been a lot of, because so many case studies are coming out, there has been a lot of talk around build MVP first and bring customers. But lots of people still get confused about what to include in an MVP. Like what should be there in an MVP and what shouldn't be there.
Okay, so let's talk about a problem, right? Let's just discuss
Yeah.
about a problem. So let's talk about your day-to-day activity, right? I'm going to tell you guys how to come up with a fantastic product idea without going on Product Hunt or any other website and trying to
Uh-huh.
copy any sort of idea, right? So
Uh-huh.
Vinay, let's make this a two-way discussion, right? So
Yeah, sure.
from morning till the time you head to sleep, right? What are your activities in general when it comes to like marketing, or what are the things that you're using? What are the tools that you're using, and what is your like workflow in general?
Mostly my day-to-day operations is handling my teams, like the project management
Hmm.
part and team management part. It is there, like
Are you
work
using any
allocation
software
and
for
all.
that?
Yeah, mostly Trello, and we have Google Sheets, like
Hmm.
sheets talking to each other. So everyone gets their
Hmm.
own task updated when I update my own
Hmm.
sheets, all that
Hmm.
stuff. And then there is outreach related work. I personally do there's prospecting, and mostly I
Hmm.
most of my time is spent on market research,
Hmm.
specifically around SEO
And
industry. So there
hmm.
is Ahrefs and all that, and SEO Quake and all that stuff. And mostly, I have some guys who made custom scripts, so I ask them to build scripts and get that automated.
Brilliant. So, what are the challenges that you face on day-to-day basis that you feel that is where you are spending most of your time and can be automated? What is that one task?
I guess one task that is very important to automate is team management or work
Hmm.
allocation. And along with
Hmm.
that, there is this prospecting and outreach process.
Brilliant. So this is where you're actually using completely wrong products for your business. If you
Hmm.
switch to a platform like Asana,
Which works.
right, and it,
Yeah, yeah, Asana.
and you combine that with a pipe drive, you would see that you're already merging your tools, right? So now
Hmm.
you have minimized the number of tools, you have minimized the learning curve of your team because the more software that you include in your workflow, the more time they have to spend learning. And in case if any
Hmm.
of your team member leaves, right, you have to train them again, right? So this is
Hmm.
where these workflow managements can be improved. Now, let's say if a product like this doesn't exist, right, that can solve this
Yeah.
problem, that becomes your MVP. What you can do
Hmm.
is you can have those you can build something around this specific problem where there can be just one product that solves this specific challenge, where you have the lead
Hmm.
flow coming in, the scrapes are happening, the lead flow is coming in directly in your CRM, and at the same time you're able to allocate the task within your team, right? So you can probably have
Hmm.
a combination of a partial CRM, and then you can have a possible combination of a partial project management tool, right?
Hmm.
And working on the features only designed for yourself. Any successful SaaS company today are the companies where the founders have first built a product to solve their own problem. That's very important. And this is where people need to understand that if you are ever looking for ideas, don't try to copy other companies ever. Any company that you have ever tried to copy, you would simply become an alternative or a clone, and you do not
Hmm.
want to get into that category because the day you try to position yourself as a cheaper clone or a cheaper alternative, you will have that cheaper tagline in front of your company, and the moment you do
Hmm.
that, you will find it very difficult to close enterprise sales. And when I say enterprise sales, I'm talking about customers who's going to pay you like $30,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $100,000
Hmm.
a year. You're not going to be able to close those deals. So this is where it is. You can refine your workflow because this is what software does. It helps you to save time. So this is the idea that I just created out of your own workflow. And we all
Hmm.
have different workflows. Just look for a daily problem that we are all facing in our everyday life, and then try to see if more people are facing that problem, which is what I mentioned earlier, is by creating a landing page and just putting up some text, some images, and all of those things, right? And just shooting a quick video. Get your camera in front of you and shoot a video. This is the problem that I was facing as well, and this is the kind of solution that I'm building up. And I would love to understand more about you. And if you have that specific problem, feel free to drop in your email address in the field below, and I would love to get in touch with you to understand more about your problem. So there you go. Start sending some traffic and see if you are getting any sort of signups for it. If you are seeing a lot of signups, there you go. That validates your idea that there are so many more people who are facing this problem. But you need to make the step to understand if there's enough market size, and always try to see if the market cap can be big, because this was one of the mistakes that I made when I was building GoPBN. That it came to a point where we had over, I think, 10 or 12,000 customers, if I remember correctly. We pretty much dominated the PBN hosting niche
Hmm.
crazily, and it came to a point where we were like, no, people are not making PBNs anymore, right? And at the same time
Yeah.
with Google updates, and how do we make more SEO people to get into PBN? Because unless and until they start building PBNs, we cannot sell them. It came to such a high saturation point for us that our growth dropped badly, and we didn't want to start service, right? We didn't want to get into SEO services,
Yeah.
because that there's always a thin line that you need to operate being a product company or a service company, and we wanted to remain a product company all the time. So we came to a point where we were like, we don't know what to do next, right? Because so someone like you, for an example, might not get into PBN at all, right? How do we convince
Hmm.
you to get into PBN? It became such a huge challenge for us that we were like, okay, this might be the tripping point, because that was the first SaaS that we had built, and we were like, okay, it's time for us to move on. So we ended up selling the company. After that, we moved on with another project, and that's when I learned the lesson that the market cap has to be big enough, or else it will come to a point where you will be so stagnant with your customer base that you will not have growth, because the market cap of the potential audience itself is so small. So always try to
Hmm.
always make sure that do not build niche products ever, unless and until you're happy making $5,000-10,000 a month. You're happy making that revenue. You don't want to try to become like the next eight-figure company, nine-figure company, or a unicorn. If you don't aim for something like that big, then sticking with something niche is brilliant. Like as long as you're happy, like not doing a job and making a bit of money here and there.
Yeah, makes sense. So you mentioned about checking the market cap, or so. While this may be a very newbie type question, so how do you size up a market?
Just go out there, see who the industry leaders are. Today, there is no unique idea left, I would say. There's always an idea out there, and someone has already built something in SaaS. It's such a
Hmm.
big world. Right now, SaaS itself is a $250 billion market as per Bloomberg, but this was last year's figure. We don't have the
Hmm.
updated figure for 2020, which is probably have already crossed $400 billion, because I think Zoom alone is valued at over $100 billion. Shopify alone is valued at $100 billion. They're both SaaS, right?
Yeah, actually,
So
much
that
more
industry,
because due to the lockdown, there has been a very huge curve, exponential
exactly,
growth.
exactly. Exactly. Slack today is yesterday I was checking. Slack is currently a market cap of $16 billion alone, right? So the market
Yeah.
cap of SaaS itself is growing so very rapidly at the moment, and with COVID coming in, people are actually forced to come online. People are forced to start using the software. This is something that I was expecting to happen in India over the course of next 10 years, but COVID has forced people to adapt to software very quickly, and that is a brilliant opportunity for so many marketers who are spending so much time in India learning, doing various digital marketing courses to get into SaaS marketing is where the money is going to be. But don't just get into SaaS marketing because you want to make money, but only get into it if you enjoy softwares, if you enjoy automation, if you love improving your workflows with the help of software, if you're obsessed about software in general, then I'm pretty sure that you would love to get into SaaS marketing, because you can sell all day long. We start with software. Right now, we are using software. We cannot survive without a single software. On your phone, you are
Exactly.
either using Gmail, you're using WhatsApp, you're using softwares everywhere. Even this live streaming is happening on a software, which
Yeah.
is streamed on
And
the
this
software.
trivia launched after the COVID appeared, the lockdown and all that
No,
stuff.
so they did launch before that.
Before, but
We were
their growth started after the COVID
exactly,
lockdown.
exactly. So the growth exploded due to COVID, because a lot more people were forced to go online, right? People who are doing
Hmm.
offline meetings, marketings, they have moved online today. So many new opportunities are coming in, and these companies are growing. They need marketers all the time, because there's only so much you can do just by yourself. There's only so much reach you can have just by yourself. So there's so much opportunities out there, but again, only get into it if you're really passionate about software. Don't get into it if you're just looking to make like money, because eventually you'll get bored and you'll move on. And
Hmm.
that's really not good, because you cannot really build something really sustainable and long term for you in that case.
Actually, that is one of the reasons we moved from catering local businesses to moving our agency to SaaS and EdTech. because we know there are so many uh, different segmentations and verticals in the SaaS industry itself that we will end up learning so much, and we are already working on SaaS products of our own. So that is working out pretty well for us.
No, that's definitely. And one of the questions that you had earlier asked me was with regards to the SEO industry going down and people moving into SaaS more is because of the fact that SEO is expensive in general. SEO is really very expensive, and most companies do not have the budget to spend $25,000 every single year, which is, to be honest with you, that's a bare minimum you need to have some good success with your SEO campaigns. And sorry to say, but most Indian clients do not want to spend more than $300 a month. They would negotiate that this person is doing for $250. Why are you charging 350 or 250? You should charge me $200, right? You cannot even get like a
Yeah,
good quality backlink for $200 today. So and forget about like good quality content, right? A good quality 2500 word content is going to cost you $100. I'm not talking about that typical $1 for like 100 word content. Like those are
I got it.
ridiculously crappy articles, you know. So if you're talking about quality article, right, you're gonna be investing at least $100 to $200 at the very least on just
Yeah,
article. There goes your budget. Forget about acquiring one backlink on top of that. So this is
exactly.
the reason why like the SEO industry is going down. And secondly, people want quick results today. People want faster results today because of so many updates that Google has been like rapidly launching and coming out with. SEO has taken a lot more time to kick in. Like it would take you a year to up to a 2 year to really start seeing the benefits of SEO. Definitely, SEO is a game changer. It is the best way of user acquisition even till date. But companies cannot invest $50,000, wait for 2 years, and then start acquiring customers. Right? That's too much of an
Exactly.
upfront investment for them. They could have spent that $50,000 on, let's say, Facebook ad, generated about 5,000 leads for their business, and closed 500 customers. Now, even if you're getting $10 a month for a customer, you have an MRR of $5,000 already. And
Hmm.
that's one of the things, one of the reasons why like platforms like Facebook and the Facebook ads have really exploded in recent time because it has become a lot more easier to acquire leads and customers as well. So this is one of the biggest reasons why like there's a transition that's happening because the customers are not ready to invest that sort of a money. And this wasn't the case earlier because the ad platforms weren't that developed back about
Hmm.
like 5 or like 6 years ago. That platforms were really not developed as they are today.
Yeah. So I actually had a question just related to this, particularly related to this topic. Like when you have, let's say, you built an MVP, you set up a landing page, you uh, sent over traffic from Facebook, and you validated the idea. You got some leads, and so there will be two types of acquisitions there. So many people just when they are starting, they start with a free version, and many people just directly start with the paid version as well. So what would be the easiest way to acquire those first 100 paid customers? Like, should we go
Uh,
through
don't,
uh,
don't go with a freemium model. If people have signed up for a free plan, that is because they are looking for a free plan. They don't want to pay you. It's as simple as that,
mhm,
right? So if I'm looking for a free solution, the reason behind that is I just don't want to pay, no matter how good or amazing the service is. I don't want to pay. So I'm not like an anti-freemium model basically, but
mhm,
for most of the serious SaaS companies, you wouldn't see a freemium model from them at all. Or if they do that, they would probably do it once they have about like over $1 million in ARR at the very least, where they can afford to have that cost associated and they can bear that cost. Because when you move to a freemium model, um, there is always going to be a lot of challenges for you to deal with the support of those free users. Because look, even though if you're offering a freemium and if a customer is still your customer even though they're not paying you, and if they reach
yeah,
out to you for a support query, and if you tell them that hey, you're not a paid customer, and we're not going to offer you support, you burn a bridge anyways, right? So you're making a customer feel like hey, just because I'm not paying doesn't mean like you cannot provide me support, right? I just contacted you because I need help, but you're saying no, you gotta pay. So at that point of stage, you are already like ruining that relationship. Why even to
Yeah.
get to that stage unless and until that's basically your business model where you do not care about the free users at all. So I would highly recommend people not to start with a freemium model to begin with, and just keep growing and keep acquiring paid customers, because you can avoid a lot of like support burden on your end. And once you come to a stage where you have hit about $1 million in ARR, then try to make a decision. Try some split testing on your website, right? Show
Hmm.
like free plan to visitors. Don't show it for repeated visitor. So this way, like the first time, the second time they see, they're like, hey, the free plan is gone. Shit, I should have just signed up earlier. Let me just try it out for the second time, right? So that's
Hmm.
one of the strategies you can potentially use in order to like really create a bit of a FOMO with them, and that has been working out. So when I consult with so many SaaS companies, I have shared some of these strategies, and it has worked out brilliantly for them. So, but to answer your question in short, if you are looking to acquire your first 100 customers, then I wouldn't recommend going with a freemium model at all.
Okay, but let's say we went with the this premium like paid subscription only. But still, what will be the strategy to acquire those first 100 customers?
The best way to really do that is by reaching out your existing networks. Not
Hmm.
necessarily everyone has the money to spend on ads, right? But
Exactly.
today, on an average, you have at least 500 connections across your Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, whatever it is, right? You combine all of them, you should be
Hmm.
you should have been connected with at least 500 people at the very least, right? Start reaching out
Hmm.
to them, speak with them, and tell them that you have a product like this, right? Build some relationship with like micro influencers,
Hmm.
so people who have like very small audience, right? Reach out to them and see if you can do some collaboration, right? Today one of the best way of collaborations is interview, right? You're speaking with other people,
Yeah.
you're building good relationship with them, and this is a great way to really build a lot of micro connections. And I am a huge admirer of micro networking versus macro networking. So when I say
Hmm.
micro networking, I'm talking about people with a network of just
One to one
500 people,
relations.
300 people, yes, or 300 people or 200 people. Because when you have a connection with just 200 people, you pretty much know all those 200 people. And those 200 people
Exactly.
will trust you more than someone having a network of 1 million people, right? I would always avoid working with macro network, and I would always prefer micro network, because micro networking is going to be much more effective, especially during the first 1 or 2 year of your journey.
Yeah, something we can relate to is like when we used to go to these conferences, like 1,000 people attending conferences, as opposed to local meetups with only 20 members. Those relations and those communications are entirely different, and these local
Exactly.
community meetups will help you much more in growth as compared to those big ass conferences.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I completely agree with that. And that happens because when you are out there with 1,000 people, you're not looking to build network. You're just looking out there to exchange cards. And by the time you move out of that building, those cards are lost because you know yourself you're never going to follow up, right? So that
Exactly.
happens all the time because anytime I used to attend events, I would exchange cards with like hundreds of people. By the time I would come back, I'm like, what am I going to do with these 100 cards? I'm not going to manually follow up. Screw this, right? If someone wants to contact me, they can. Like that's usually what happens in majority of the cases. Versus a small networking event where it's just 10 people, 15 people meeting over a dinner, you can actually speak, you can sit down and speak, which is so much better, because that's the whole purpose of networking. Like, you need to talk and you need to listen. And that is something that would never happen. Big conferences are all about advertisement, to be very honest with you.
Exactly. Actually, interestingly, the concept of this actual show was formed due to this uh, meetups, because we three or four friends were having regular discussions after a lockdown, like over a week and over 2 3 weeks. And we decided why not invite more people and we can answer their queries in real time as opposed to Facebook or Instagram and DMing them. And from there, it grew to such a high level. We have 500 members in our Telegram channel. Those are actually active.
No, that's actually brilliant. So that's why I told you like micro influencing and micro networking is so much more powerful than macro influencing. People want today like 1 million followers. What are you gonna do with 1 million followers when you don't even know one of them, right? What is
Actually,
having
that is
what
one
like
thing I have been pushing lately. Like that is one thing I have been ranting about lately. People want 1 million followers, but they don't know what they will do once they have achieved those 1 million. That will just be an arbitrary
exactly
number,
my point.
and
Exactly my
in
point, you know.
in the meanwhile, you will lose all your privacy, and they never think
So
about that.
definitely, that always happens. So I'll give you a good example. I had about 15,000 followers on my LinkedIn 3 months ago. I removed almost 9,000 of the followers because I don't even know who they are. I don't even know why I added them about 5, 7, 8 years ago. I don't know, right? I literally spent almost 2 weeks removing them manually because there is no automation available for that, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't use any sort of automation for something like that. So I had manually removed 9,000 connection to a point where now I have 6,000 incredible connection, out of which I might have spoken up with at least 50,000, 50% of the people at the very least, either through privately or I've met them in person or they are in my industry. And I've kept my LinkedIn strictly to people in the SaaS industry only now. I do not
Mhm.
add anyone in my LinkedIn. I get roughly around 300 to 400 requests a day now for people trying to add me, but I do not accept anyone unless and until they are in the similar industry. And this is again very important that when you network, you need to know whom you're networking with at the same time in any industry, even in SaaS. If you are getting into SaaS, a network with SaaS people because you'll have a broader mindset, you'll have a much better idea of how to do things. Because when you are around similar people, your thought process changes and develops in a incredibly beautiful way.
Because
That's
all of
it.
you have the same problems. You are struggling with the same issues, same
Exactly,
mistakes, and
exactly,
someone has
exactly.
already solved that problem, and you can just reach out to them, and they will be more
Oh,
than happy to
definitely,
help you.
definitely, definitely.
There's one interesting thing I found in indie hackers group. Like most of the people there are like going into SaaS only. They are building products and mostly SaaS or newsletters. Those are the two things I found there. So one thing I noticed is like people started even before they were even before they were able to build an MVP, they started a newsletter around that particular industry, that particular
Yeah,
vertical.
right. Right, that is because they want to understand whether it's worth it to spend that time to build that product. If it's not worth it, and this is the reason why I gave a brief explanation earlier, is to understand whether the market cap is big enough. You cannot build a
Mhm.
product for 100 people. It's not sustainable because when you're building product, and when you're scaling up on product, you need to make sure it's sustainable because SaaS is not. It gets very expensive. There are so many different vertices, right from the server to development, and development can get very expensive, like
Expensive.
literally very expensive. Because one thing you cannot afford, and this was again a mistake that I made during my earlier stages, is by hiring cheap developers. And trust me, it has burned me very badly. So I would always recommend that stick with quality people, and if you cannot afford to hire good developers, offer equity in your company, and if you make them a part of your journey, there's nothing better than that. So these are the things that you need to be open to. Don't be greedy. That's all I would say.
Mhm. Yeah, so people are actually looking for very exponential growth from the first day itself. That's one of the biggest problems.
Yeah, people always have expectation that if they put in $1, they need $10 back tomorrow, right? That doesn't happen that way. Like running a
Yeah.
SaaS is as good as you opening up a new pizza store, a local pizza store around you, and then pushing up the marketing everywhere. You'll get the first order one day. People like it, people will talk about it, they will tell to their friends about your pizzas, and then more people will order pizzas, and eventually you will grow, right? From a point you
Yeah.
making one pizza to you delivering 1,000 pizzas a day. That's the exact same way SaaS business works. If you're solving the problem in a more effective way, and if your product is very good in quality, then more and more people will just sign up with your product, because more and more people will talk about your product. And that's another thing that you need to look into, is to making sure that people actually talk about your product, about you all the time. Doesn't matter it's good or bad, because as you grow, there's going to be the bad side that's going to come in. So just make people talk about it, because that's the most important part about growing any business in general.
Yeah, one person I have seen who does this really great is Sahil Lavingia, the owner of Gumroad. He goes on to
Sorry.
Twitter. The owner of Gumroad,
Yeah, 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 right, right.
he goes on to one-to-one discussions with people on Twitter, and he try to understand their problem in the real time. No fluff,
No,
nothing.
that's the best way to really do anything, because when you become a SaaS founder, you are committing yourself to solving problem and challenges. That's what SaaS is all about, is actually making people's life easy. Look at
Hmm.
all these tools that we are using right now, right? With the help of social media, you can connect with someone sitting in Australia, US, Canada, with just your internet and your laptop. That's it. That's technology for you.
These days, you don't even need a laptop.
Whatever, like, you just need a device. All you need is
Yeah.
is is to get started, right? Don't just watch things, don't just listen to people. If you don't want to execute things, don't just start listening to podcasts if you're not going to execute them. If you're consuming something,
Mhm.
make sure to implement them as much as possible, because doers will always succeed in their life.
Yeah, something like I can relate. Like most people read books because they think reading books is equal to action.
Yeah, those knowledge is useless if you're not going to implement them. Just because I have said something doesn't mean that it is perfect. Implement it. Maybe I could be wrong. Anyone could be wrong. So you could have thought things in a different way. You could have solved those challenges in a different way. So, for example, I
Mhm.
gave the ideas of landing pages and all of these things. Maybe you could come up with a even better idea. Don't even create landing pages. Just call people, right? Just text
Yeah,
them directly on their messenger, or just shoot them an email. Don't even do that. Just ask them, do you have this problem? Right? Just do
yeah.
that. Simple. And
I have
ask your
recently
friend.
seen, many people over Twitter. Like they will build a following. Just they will go into a very niche market. They will start creating content around it, and they will build up an audience, and not very huge audience, like 500 people, 1,000 people, and that's it. And they will build a card site or a Gumroad page, and they will start they will create a product, be it an info product or a technical product, it doesn't matter, and they will start pushing that product very naturally into those conversations. And I have seen people having exposure of nearly 1 million impressions per month with an account having 1,000 Twitter followers.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, you don't need massive following. All you need is to get started. That's all, right? Just get started, right? Make pro. I'm a huge believer of making like 1% progress every day. I'm a huge believer of that. Like, I would never try to jump and try to make bigger progress. No, for me, it's learning, implementing, making mistakes, learning from it again, and I'm in this loop every single day. Every single day, I'll try to learn something new. Every single day, I'll implement them, and I'm okay failing. And that's how I've grown. I've literally grown. I think in my 12th, I literally secured 50%. Most of the teachers and told me that I'm not going to do shit in my life, right? But I decided, like, I'm going to prove myself wrong, right? If someone has said something about me, I'm just going to make sure that I do not fall into that category. I started working towards my passion. Was already working even before that. So don't get into all of those things. Just get started. That's very important. But keep an open mind about everything, whatever you're doing.
Hmm. So there's another similar type of question. Like since we are talking about SaaS marketing, and many of our audiences are people. that are making transition from blogging or marketing to product owners. Though they are good developers, but they even know how to market, but they might not be able to spend that amount, that huge amount that is needed to grow or and scale. So, what would be the best SaaS marketing channel or strategies that you will implement when you are on a low budget?
So I'm going to give you one great strategy that pretty much all of you guys can implement, literally all of you.
Hmm.
If you're not a technical founder or you're not a technical person, when I say not a technical person, I mean you're not a developer in general.
Hmm.
If you're not that, if you're not that, and if you're not one of those, then my highest recommendation to you would be look for a product that offers white label solution that is
Hmm.
offering like where you can just slap your name on top of a product and you can just start selling. You do not have to worry about building a product. You do not have to worry about taking care of the technicalities. And if you're just good at marketing, start with that because that will help you to learn so much about SaaS and the audiences in general that when you actually decide to build the technology, you would be able to handle things in so much better way. I wish I knew this when I started back several years ago. I would have skipped on so many mistakes that I made because of that. So, but today, about 60% of the SaaS sales in the world happens through white label. So everyone is slapping their name on top of it, going micro selling, and they're selling to the network of 40, 50, 100 people, basically. And there are
Hmm.
companies today, there are various companies that are offering similar solutions. Just go out there, even at PitchGround, we keep offering like white label solutions from various products from time to time. But if not, just go out there, do some research and product hunt. I'm pretty sure you would be able to find plenty of such products. Pick a product that has been built by a good technology founder and the technology is very good and they struggle to sell. This is exactly where you come into picture. Get their white label version of their product and just go out there and start selling to really understand. Like you need to get dirty, you need to get into the dirt to really understand how what it takes uh, to build a mug out of a clay, basically.
Yeah, just what Indian people are doing with hosting companies.
Yeah, similarly, it's the same model. You don't need to think something out of the box. You know, if you're not a technical, just start with that. Like, just make your mistakes, all your mistakes, in that first part of your journey before diving into tech. Because I'm telling you, like, SaaS development can get very expensive. So before diving into something like that, give this a try and see whether reselling is something that you can do and if you would love to sell, then this is a great way to really test your skills and learn from that.
Yeah, actually, that's why we started with SaaS marketing agency model because we were able to understand what are the problems and mistakes people do, what are the struggles they face, and how what and we were able to learn SaaS marketing on someone else's budget, and that was the best part of that journey.
Look,
Even though they
unless and
were,
until you get look, unless and until you get into the field, you're not going to learn, right? I'm pretty sure that when
yeah,
you started doing your SEO, you did not read all the books, completed all the courses, and then started building things, right? You just
I
dived
was
right
copy
in.
pasting from Facebook.
That's all. Just get started. It's okay. Like I said, do whatever it takes during the initial first few months, first year. The first year of your business is all about making mistakes. All about making mistakes. Don't try to play safe. The moment you
Hmm.
try playing safe, you're done. You're over. You're never gonna be. You never are gonna be able to grow big. Take risk in your life. That's very important. And this applies to any field that you're doing in general. Take risk if you really want to grow and succeed.
Yeah, makes sense. So let's move from low budget marketing teams to a generic perspective. And so, what will be the best channel or marketing channel you will start with when you are going to promote your SaaS and
So
both channels and inorganic channels like paid?
So today, platforms like PitchGround exist. There are other platforms like AppSumo out there, very respectful competitor of ours. We love them at the same time. So you can reach out to them. You can reach out
Hello.
to us. And that's probably one of the most effective way. Then go on product hunt, launch your product over there. You can go on beta list, list your product over there. The moment you start doing such activities, by then, like you would have already acquired at least like 1,000 customers to your platform to begin with. So that's something that you can potentially do to begin with, gather some revenue, and then reinvest back. If you don't want to do any of these things, then I would say like you got to start spending a bit of your money on ads. If you don't want to dive into SEO right away, because like I mentioned earlier, you need to have at least a minimum budget of $25,000 a year that you need to spend on SEO. If you have anything lower than that, then do not start with SEO as a channel till the time you really have that money. So start with something like Facebook ad, dive deep into Google ads, YouTube ads, and just start creating contents at the same time. So that's the best way to really get started with. Hello?
Yeah, yeah. Actually,
Hello.
Vinay
Yeah,
was disconnected.
I
Ah,
got
okay.
mistakenly I got kicked out of my own show. Yeah. So, what will be the like you mentioned about organic channels? Now, what will be the paid channels we will go to first?
In terms of paid channels today, there are four channels that we specifically use that has worked out brilliantly for us. One is Quora ads, one
Mm-hmm.
is YouTube ads, one is Google ads, and one is Facebook ads. These four channels covers pretty much the entire world, basically. So these are the four channels I would say where you can get started right away with any sort of a budget that you have in general. But I do advise people to have a budget of at least $2,000 as well per month to spend on ads. If you have anything less than that, do not get into paid channels. Like if your budget is like $500, it is better spent if that money is better spent on something like a paid influencer marketing campaign or
Mm-hmm.
something other than that. Like those are going to be much more effective channels because when it comes to ads, they can get expensive and they need time to really optimize to a point. Like if you're just going to try to generate leads at $1, not necessarily those leads are going to be like quality either. So there's always going to be different challenges, and these are challenges that you need to begin with, or start finding like different sort of communities, collaborate with the community founder, pay them some money, and try to build some relationship, and they will be more than happy to push your product because everyone is looking for collaboration, and that's really the new way of marketing. Like this, that's a new way of paid marketing. To be very honest with you, so for
Yeah,
example, if I have to pay, so
communities
for
are the best
example,
thing that is going on right now.
no,
Let me
definitely.
elaborate.
So I would rather pay like let's say 100, 200, $300 to a community founder to push my product versus paying it on Facebook ad. To be very honest with you, because they
Yeah.
would put in all their efforts to really push the product. That is the sort of an approach I would take if I'm on a low budget because that would give me far better results as compared to running Facebook ads with a low budget at that point of stage. Because uh, you need to also understand, like if you're gonna start acquiring customers from US and Canada, it can get very expensive. Like cost per lead can go up to like 10 to 15 to $20 for a single lead, and then conversion rates are going to vary anywhere from 1 to 10% depending upon your closing skills. So all of these things matters a lot. So if you have burnt out $200 right away generating just 10 leads, and if your conversion rate is 1%, you get zero customers, right? So
Yeah.
those are the challenges that you will always have. So that's the reason why. And plus, at the same time, most of the time, people spend about 10 to 20% of their budget of the lifetime value of a customer to acquire one paid customer. So, for example,
Mm-hmm.
if the lifetime value of your customer is $500, right? Like that's the maximum a customer would pay you. Then in that case, you would pretty much spend, or you can only spend a maximum of 20% of that, which is around $100 to acquire one paid customer. So if your
Mm-hmm.
cost per acquisition is $100 for one customer, if your conversion rate is crazy, you I don't want to run further numbers because it can get very, very, very expensive. So it's just not worth
Yeah,
it
we
at
are
that
gonna
point of
come to
stage.
that. Actually, I have a very specific question on that as well. And
Hmm.
you also wanna take a look at like even though your lifetime value is $500 and you are able to convert that customer in $100, but you have to take a look at how many time it will take for them to spend those $500 as well, because you can't wait for 10 years for them to spend those $500 too.
Great
And
question. I usually recommend that it's usually 2 years of the time basically. So let's say if
mhm,
you are selling a services at $10 per month, then
mhm,
I make it very simple. Don't use any like complicated maths. Just multiply the $10 with 24 months. So the lifetime value of your customer at that stage
mhm,
is $240. Like a
mhm.
very very simple generic calculation I would give you.
Yeah, that's actually what matters, because when you are scaling that forward, you need to get those numbers right as well.
No, so that's what you cannot get an accurate number till the time you actually have 1,000 paying customers, because you can
Yeah.
find the accurate data only when you have the data with you. If you don't have the data, you need to just make some base assumptions and base idea based on your pricing model right now, and then take it from there. That's very important.
Yeah, I would like to come back to one thing that I actually wanted to add earlier. Like when we were talking about marketing channels. So when you don't have those that have that budget, and you are using those organic channels to get those initial customers or initial visitors itself, what you can do is you can install multiple pixels on your website, and you can retarget them later when you have a budget. So don't miss those potential customers as well.
Definitely, but again, those pixels are going to be pretty useless because honestly, no one even remembers what website they visited when they woke up in the morning, right?
But that
Or
will
what
help you
was
in a long-term content marketing funnel when you want to get
no,
those.
it doesn't. People don't remember, so it becomes as good as a cold audience. Trust me, it doesn't help. I literally ran a huge Facebook ad agency as a consultant. I spend a crazy five figures every month on Facebook ads right now for PitchGround, and trust me, like people do not remember, people do not care, and people say like it will be helpful, and trust me, it's not helpful at all. You should always be targeting people who have visited your website in the last 30 days and not longer than that, because you're just burning your money. Like you're telling Facebook that, hey, I'm too rich, just take my money at that stage.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'm just sharing what the data says, not what I say. I'm purely talking.
No, no,
I'm a 100% data person.
no, no, I got, I get it. So, and one more thing I would encourage people to do is use Quora organically as well. Like last year, I had one of the SaaS platforms in our own community, and with only a few answers, they were able to generate over 2K MRR every month, new 2000 MRR every month. And that was really brilliant as compared to we only got 500 or 600 views on each answer only. So you don't want to miss out on those part as well if you don't have those budgets.
Yeah, definitely. Look, when you're starting out, it just comes down to your overall marketing budget. You need to prepare your funnel accordingly. You need to prepare your strategies accordingly, and then you need to move forward from there. Like there are so many acquisition channels available today, because
Hmm.
people are out there everywhere, right? But you cannot start with
Yeah.
everything. Start with one, nail it down, start with second, nail it down, start with third. If you try to go with all of the things, you are scattered all over the place, you would not even nail down one properly. So if you're focusing on just Quora, just focus on Quora. No community building, no community outreach, no influencer marketing, nothing. Just
Hmm.
put all your energy into Quora, because that's the only effective way where you can grow a lot more rapidly.
Hmm. Since we are talking about funnels, I also wanted to ask, like most of the SaaS platforms are at the end when you are scaling, you build a funnel around it so that it all the marketing uh, activities can be automated at a certain point or up to a certain level. So what is the mindset and what are the strategies that goes behind those building those marketing and sales funnels for a SaaS product?
I would say the best way to really understand a SaaS marketing funnel is by signing up for some of the top SaaS in the industry. Just sign
Mm-hmm.
up and start receiving emails from them. Google about them, and you will see the kind of keywords that they're targeting. See the landing pages and see what kind of landing pages that they have built. Sign up for the landing page and see what kind of emails that they have sent out, right? Those companies
Mm-hmm.
are spending millions of dollars on some of the best marketing minds. And that's the best way to really get all the ideas and how they're doing things, right? So marketing, I say, is an HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in a developer's language where everything is very open, everything is very transparent. You got to stop seeing yourself as a customer and you got to think as a marketer and see it as a marketer, and you will immediately see the flows, how things are built, because the funnels they change drastically depending upon the channels that you're targeting. Your funnel changes drastically depending upon the users. The emails that are sent out gets more personalized depending upon the plans, depending upon what they have signed up. So there has to be effort put into personalization. That's very important.
Mm-hmm. So let's say when you are building a funnel. So actually, I was actually building a funnel last 2 weeks back, and I was searching a lot about the SaaS funnels and all that stuff. And most of the people were talking about that old IDA formula, and that is obviously that's what we follow. But when you are just starting out, would you want to go implement all that entire funnel, like targeting awareness and all those stages, or would you directly go to those people at the buying stage?
I would really say, what is the objective? What is the initial objective? What you're trying to achieve initially? It will
Mm-hmm.
purely depend upon that. So, for example, when you're running a marketing funnel, your focus is more on branding and reach in general. So, just to give you an example, right? You're going in an event and you're getting
Mm-hmm.
a title sponsorship for that event, and you've paid X amount for it, right? That's
Yeah.
branding, that's reach.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get a stall inside that event, that's a sales acquisition channel where you're
Mm-hmm.
building that one-to-one communication. So you're building up a funnel. Then people give out like T-shirts and all those things printed. They're a part of branding strategy, right?
Yeah.
When you're doing marketing, you expect people to convert, but when you're doing sales, you actually close people. So there is a huge difference between both of them. So your
Mm-hmm.
marketing funnels would change drastically depending upon your core objective, because you create marketing funnels in your marketing as well, where the objective is not sales. The objective in those funnels are purely for brand awareness. And when you're doing brand awareness, the goal is not to sell. The goal is to just let people know that, hey, I exist, I am alive, I'm here, listen to me. And I'm just trying to get that attention. That's it. A good example of this is Gary Vee, right? Is he selling
Mm-hmm.
anything to you? No, right? But
Yeah.
when he has such a massive reach, people come and pay thousands of dollars worth of tickets just to attend his event, right? And that's where
Mm-hmm.
he makes majority of his money from these audience that he has built up over a period of time. That becomes one of the part of his marketing funnel that eventually leads to sale. Everything eventually leads to sale, but is he expecting someone to actually pay and attend his event? No, he's not. He's still pursuing and he's still pushing up his content. He's still pushing up his branding and reach to reach out to more and more people every single day. That is a pure marketing funnel. Now, a sales funnel for him would be that, okay, like there will be one person who will reach out to different events that are happening around the world and would actually pitch that, hey, Gary, we would like to speak at your event for this amount. And this is the kind of audience that he has, and this is the kind of ticket sales that can happen. That's a sale right away. So these are the things that happens, and the strategies vary depending upon your core objective. Depending on what stage you are, your strategies would change accordingly. So a good strategy is, a lot of SaaS companies today have started writing books, right, and
Mm-hmm.
has started selling books as a way to add like a tripwire, basically, where you're selling that
Yeah.
book for $3 or $4 or $5, right, and you're building up that audience, and people are okay paying for that book, and that's where you're
And
building
now,
out a good relationship with them.
yeah, and you are building a relationships. as well, and you now know that they are willing to spend on your product or with you. They are
Yeah,
willing to
definitely.
take out the credit card.
But at the same time, if they're paying for the books, you don't have the details precisely, right? So
Yeah.
they might be interested or they're just looking for information, but that gives you a good idea that people are looking to learn more about things because the people will never come in and buy anything without doing enough research. And
Mm-hmm.
this book just becomes like another piece of content and a lead magnet for you in your business. But when you have like a paid lead magnet, that always helps you to refine all the lists and you get like a much quality audience in general. So there are so many strategies that can be implemented at various stages. You have to ensure and be very clear what is the objective behind it.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to touch on this topic because your last product was funnel based, as far as I remember.
It's
And
still
that
running
was,
for like it's doing brilliant right now. It's just that I don't
oh,
market it because it's a sales product. So if I throw my
yeah.
money into marketing, it defeats the purpose, right? It's a cold outreaching software. So why would I focus on marketing? We have a sales team behind the scene who's pushing the product, and we are just focusing on cold email as the user acquisition. That's what the software does. And if I start pushing SEO content around things, it just defeats the purpose, right? And we have acquired some
Yeah.
good enterprises. We have acquired very good customers around it. The reason I don't focus on marketing is because it's a sales product. While I can
Mm-hmm.
market the product, but my objective for Funnel Bake is not to make it a crazy marketing channel. It's
Mm-hmm.
for sales purpose. It needs to be sales. It's 100% sales driven. So that's how I really operate. So I'm currently also operating that because I've been a like I'm a huge passionate believer that cold emails are one of the most effective ways to acquire customers today.
Same here. Uh, yeah, so that's brilliant, man. Uh, yeah. So, like you mentioned, the funnels will change according to the stage you are in when you are building a SaaS product or any company itself. So when you are just starting out, I think that will be the time you focus on your sales funnel first, and as you grow, you would want to work on your marketing funnel and build your brand around that. Is that right?
A simple answer to that would be the first 3 months you should be focusing on breaking even because you would
Mm-hmm.
know what is the cost for the server to run a team, to pay everyone's salary, and to pay your own salary, right? Let's
Mm-hmm.
say that figure is $10,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Per month. That should be your first goal, that you have to hit that $10,000 in 3 months of time. That's it. If you are not hitting that figure in 3 months of time, you might end up closing your business in next 3 months of time because you will have no money left unless and until you have enough reserves out there and you're ready to like just keep injecting the money into the company.
Mm-hmm.
That's very expensive in general. So getting and making sure that you break even in 3 months should be the topest of the priority. Once you break even, you're in a very good state to start experimenting various things. And in those 3 months, you would have also got a lot of information where you have acquired majority of your customers from. So you can start scaling up on that. Because if you are able to hit and break even in 3 months, you're actually making a fantastic progress then.
Yeah, that makes much better sense. So since we are already talking about funnels and basically marketing and sales funnels, I also wanted to ask about what are the KPIs you focus on when you are growing your agency or building these funnels.
So there are always just two core APIs. One is what is the cost per lead that we are spending, and the
Mm-hmm.
second is what is our conversion rate. So these are the only two main KPIs that we look in the front end. In the back end, we look at our churn rate, like um, why are people churning out, or what happened, or what is our churn rate, what all things can we do to lower down our churn rate. So those are the metrics that we always try to put in all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Actually, I included these topics because when I was researching, and I have been working on funnels for a long time, like 2 3 years, and still when I moved to this SaaS funnels, and it was still overwhelming for me. So whoever is just starting out, he's gonna go crazy with implementing funnels, because whenever you are starting, or whenever you are just starting out and want to find how to promote my product or grow my product, most people will recommend build a funnel around your product, or build a sales funnel, build a marketing funnel, push ads, and from there you go into this everlasting confusion zone you never get out of.
And that's why, like, don't read so much either, and don't watch all the videos. Learn one thing and implement it. See whether it works or not. That's very essential. So that's something like learn, implement, fail, learn, implement, fail. Just be in that loop, and as long as you're doing that, you will always grow and you will always succeed.
Yeah, that was pretty much what I had in mind with topics. Now we can start taking questions from the audience, so it can be really personal to them, and they can actually solve their own problems than being
Sure,
generic.
awesome. I would love to answer them.
Yeah, so I already took some of the questions beforehand. So I will take them first, and then we will take from the chat. So guys, if you have any
Awesome.
questions regarding whatever we have discussed right now, or anything in general according to SaaS marketing, you can ask them in the comment section, and we will take it up.
Yeah, and like we can highlight questions. So if you want your question
Yeah,
should be
yeah.
highlighted, just write down in the chat.
So Faiz, the ones I have already noted down, I will ask them first, and then we can move on to
Sure.
the comment section, so you can highlight them accordingly.
Okay, all right.
So we have a question from KS Rehan. So what are the best strategies to generate leads for a SaaS product?
Um, it would really again depend upon your SaaS. It would
Mm-hmm,
really depend upon your product, and it will really depend upon your budget. There is nothing known as the
mm-hmm.
best strategy. The best strategy always revolves around your budget. So if you can mention your budget as a follow-up question, then I think I would be in a much better position to give a much more personalized answer.
I guess let's take our example ourselves with a
Mhm.
$1,000 or $1,500 monthly budget, and that, let's say, project management tool, or let's say funnel bake, or a version of
Mhm.
outreach tool. And how would you go around generating leads for that?
So, so this is mostly the most effective way that I'll suggest that. I don't think anyone has really spoken about anything anywhere. So this is going to be new to a lot of you guys. Um, Start looking for different sorts of Facebook groups.
Mm-hmm.
Jot down about 10 groups. Reach out to the founder and tell them that, hey, you want to do a paid collaboration with them, where just interview me as a paid collaboration and push my product to your audience. And let's say, depending on the size, you would pay them $100 to $500, just depending upon the audience size in general and the engagement in general, right? So let's say if your
Mm-hmm.
budget is $1,000 for that month, reach out to about 10 micro influencers who are going to do a marketing for you in their group for about 10. They don't care about the conversion KPIs will not matter to those influencers because the agreement is very different. So at that point of stage, when you're reaching out to so many people, at least 1,000 to 2,000 people would have seen your interviews, would have seen your product, your brand name, and out of those 1,000 people, there will be at least 50 people or 30 people who will reach out to you for your product or will love to give it a try. One of the things that you can potentially add to spice up your signups is drop some interesting offers for them, saying that,
Mm-hmm.
hey, so this is for Vinay's audience specifically, that if you sign up at PitchGround, we'll give you like 50% discount or 80% discount on your first month, or we'll just give it to you for free. Let's take an example of that, right? So when I do that, what will happen would be that people will just go quickly and sign up, and you can FOMO that with a timer, like, hey, it's only available for the next 24 hours. So if you have seen this interview in the first 24 hours, just make sure that you head to xyz.com/Vinay at that stage, and sign up over there and just enter the coupon code Vinay. Right? That's it.
Mhm.
You have the people now. So if 2,000 people have seen your video, then there you go. You pretty much have like a good 400, 500 signups. Start engaging with them.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And this is a strategy you might have never seen anywhere, like no growth hack books, nothing, nowhere. I can guarantee you that, because this is something I've been personally working out at different levels. And
Hmm.
I'm always a believer of testing out new things. Even though it fails, it's okay for me.
Hmm.
So unless and until as a marketer you start testing out new things, you would not know like how things can be very effective. It's something that you can probably do at a low budget, and plus you actually build good relationships when you exchange. There is a transaction. There's always a good relationship that gets built up at that point of stage. So that's something that you can potentially do if you're low budget, and you can actually get good quality customer. And that's why I'm a such a firm believer of micro networking rather than macro networking.
Hmm.
So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. So how would you grow a SaaS product in a very competitive industry? This is from Rishi Mundra.
Oh, that's actually brilliant. It's actually a lot more easier to sell a product in a competitive industry versus a non-competitive industry, because if I tell you that, hey, I have a live chat solution, you already know what the product is. So I don't need to sit
Hmm.
down and explain you what the product is. So at that point of stage, you're more likely to sign up. Versus if I tell you that I have a Facebook ads optimization tool, a lot of people would be like, hey, I don't even run Facebook ad, I got to learn from for that, right? So
Hmm.
competitive industry is a lot more easier to sell into, because the market cap of that industry alone is so big that everyone is already aware of the product. So you don't have to focus on educating the person. So look at the people who are selling like Facebook optimizing tool, Google ads optimizing tool. In order for you to sell those products, you have to first explain them and teach them about Google and Facebook ads,
Hmm.
right? Or help them to understand how they can learn about optimization. There's a huge learning curve. So being in competitive industry is actually a lot more fun than so this is where like the Go PBN example which I gave you earlier, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I have to teach people how to build PBN and the importance of PBN before they would dive into making PBNs, right? And then they would
Yeah.
start with one PBN and expect the websites to rank. And I would tell them, no, you got to build more PBNs, right? So there's
Hmm.
always going to be that challenge. So being in competitive industries is a lot more easier than being in a non-competitive industry. That only applies in SaaS, by the way.
Huh. So there was an additional question with this question only. Like when you are competing in a or working in a very competitive industry in SaaS, how would you position your product so that it sells?
If you want to position your product, you need to be very clear in terms of what problem that you're solving, and you need to be niche about it. So, being niche in your product during the initial stages is very important. Building a
Hmm.
niche product is wrong. So, I hope that is one thing that I do want to clarify, and people do understand that. So, let's
Hmm.
say that if I'm building a CRM, I would start with a CRM for lawyers. The
Hmm.
same product can be used by a doctor as well. So at that stage, I
Hmm.
will simply create a new landing page saying that CRM for doctor. It's the same product. I don't need to rebuild a product for them. So I will go
Hmm.
niche, and then I will start targeting people, and that is probably the best way to effectively to really to really have a broad product with niche audience sizes, and then going and becoming a lot more broader as you just keep on acquiring customers.
Yeah, I will give them a more relevant example because most of the people are from marketing background only or from bloggers perspective. Like when you are offering like services like SEO, you are always offering SEO, but you can always market it to lawyers, healthcare, SaaS, edtech, anyone. But at the end, the core product is always the same. That is SEO services, and that is the core principle of what Udit said. Like you are building a core product, and you can use that product to market into different niche markets.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So let me take another question. Okay. So what are the best SMM, social media marketing ways to promote a product with retargeting, and what kind of landing page strategies are useful here?
Can you
What are
repeat
the
that question actually?
Yeah, sure. It was kind of confusing. So
Yeah.
what are the what are the social media marketing channels that or strategies that you will use to promote a product and use for retargeting basically?
So those are actually two separate questions with two separate intents. So
Hmm.
I'll dive into the first intent, which is which marketing channel to use. So I would say one of the strategies that I mentioned earlier is about the community thing. You can outreach to them, you can collaborate with them, you can do a paid collaborate with them. That's one thing that you can do, or you can just start using LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very effective. It's growing pretty quickly. If you love something like Twitter, then I have recently become a huge Twitter follower of fan, and I've been spending a lot more time on Twitter as compared to any of the platforms right now. And the engagements on Twitter are really hilarious at times, and it's really crazy. So the engagements are insane. So to my perspective, what I would recommend is if you're on low to no budget for marketing, then start with LinkedIn right away. Add people and just don't pitch them. Hey, would you like to buy my product or try my product? No one is interested. Build some relationship with people. Give some time. They're human in the end, so treat them humanly, right? Build some relationship with them, and eventually you will see that they would sign up for your product at that point of stage. So in terms of platform for getting serious customers, I would recommend LinkedIn. In terms of retargeting, I would say just put up your pixels and make sure again to build a custom audience of 30 days. Anything more than that is you're basically giving out your money to Facebook at
Hmm.
that point of stage. So that would be my basic recommendation in terms of like those two different questions and the answers for both those questions.
Yeah, one thing I would add to LinkedIn marketing is as well that like use it as a content marketing platform at the same time because uh, LinkedIn is literally exploding right now. The engagement on LinkedIn is literally exploding. I was using it 5 or 6 months back, and I was able to grab 5 or 6 very high quality leads within a span of 2 weeks. Like even I was only active for 2 weeks, and I was able to acquire those leads, and they were in all inbound. I never reached out to anyone. So
No,
you
so
have to,
that's why I told you LinkedIn is awesome.
yeah. So you have to make sure you do two things. What people do is they go on LinkedIn and they start inviting everyone into their connections. You don't have to do that. Never. You have to invite two types of people. One, who are your target audience, who you want to do business with. Like you want to do business with SaaS people, invite SaaS people in your industry. Like if you are into marketing industry, invite marketing SaaS owners. And second, people who are into the marketing industry itself and who want to learn from you, because in the end you want people to promote you so that there can be that social goodwill that will help you sell to those SaaS owners or those marketing owners. So this is what I did when I started out. I started publishing content. I invited those people who already knew me and wanted to learn SEO or marketing related strategies. So they started promoting and they started engaging in my comments, and it went. Some of the content went viral, and at the when it started exploding, I started inviting people with who I can do business with. So what happened in the end, people whenever I publish something, these the people who want to learn engage with it. It exploded. The business owners saw that and they reached out to me themselves, and that's how you can do it in a more natural way rather than spamming the hell out of it.
Exactly. Please do not spam people. Like every time I see a request saying things like I would love to get connected with you with a replacement of my company name. I know it's a it's a template. Do not do that. Trust me. It's better to have 5,000 followers, 3,000 followers, 2,000 followers, where you have really built personal connection versus just showing up the numbers. Like I'm not a numbers guy. I'm more about building genuine connection and taking with that approach. And that has been one of the biggest reasons why like pitch round has grown very quickly, and we have done $3 million in total sales in just 22 months of our existence, I would say.
That's impressive, man. Uh, yeah, so these were the questions I had previously. So Faz, you can start taking questions from the comment section as well. I guess Faz is not here.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah, so you can start taking questions from comment sections as well.
Yes.
Just highlight the question and I will read it out. So Vinayak Kejriwal has asked, I have an idea and I am not a developer. Would I require a tech co-founder and how to move after getting a tech co-founder? Like we would have to hire developers or develop the product on our own.
When it really comes down to your budget, honestly, if you
Hmm.
have a very good budget to invest, then I would say get a CTO to begin with. Pay that CTO a very good handsome salary so that the technology part and the burden of technology is out of your shoulders completely at that point of stage. So you cannot
Hmm.
start, you just cannot start a tech company without a CTO, period. It's not
Hmm.
possible and it doesn't make sense because the moment someone arrives on your website and they see, hey, you're a technological company and you don't have a CTO, that doesn't sound right. So you're probably outsourcing it, and the quality of those products are very shitty whenever you outsource.
Hmm.
So my recommendation is that if you're not open to getting a co-founder and giving them equity, then and if then you need to have a good budget. If you don't have a good budget, uh, then you need to basically sell your vision to them in order to get them on board. Basically, then at that stage they would probably slash down their salary as well. They'll be open to doing that, and then a bit of salary and a good equity, and you've got yourself a very good partner to go on a very very crazy journey. So that is what I would recommend.
Perfect. So Faz, another question.
Yeah.
So Saban have asked, what if someone knows development but not that much into marketing? So I guess we already
Uh,
covered that
uh,
part.
yeah, or you can just reach out to Vinayak now.
Actually,
so
we are
so
already working together.
so oh, okay, all right. So there you go. Like like you can have like matchmaking sessions here itself.
Yeah, we need to make a tender for CTO and CMOs.
I've always thought of building a product like that, but then I'm like, nah, like let's skip on it. The last thing we
Meetup is
don't
already
want is
there.
like you. Yeah, the last no no the last thing I don't want is people swiping you left just because you don't look good, rather than trying to understand what your skill sets are.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when you started your first
We
SaaS
got
product,
one question.
how to get investors for your SaaS product or prototype? So earlier we were
Um,
talking about bootstrapping, and this is completely new arena.
Never build a product for an investor. Right now, you are not a customers person. You are actually an investor person. So the thought process itself is completely wrong. Your goal should always be your customers are going to be your best investors at all time. So if you're building your first SaaS, don't go out there looking for money to build a prototype at that point of stage. Your thought process should be completely different. Rather than doing that, look out for a co-founder, sell them your vision, get them on board to get an MVP, and then go from there. Because if you are going to an investor promising them like suns and moons and star, and after 6 months you're not delivering to them, you have just burned like your name in the market. So I wouldn't recommend like raising a capital and then building a product versus building a product and seeing whether your idea is actually worth it. And then if you want to raise money, then that's completely onto you at that stage. But get your ideas validated, build a product and see if there's a traction going on. If you have no traction, then you'll even find a huge challenge to even get an investor just think about yourself, right? Keeping yourself in an investor's shoe. If I'm coming out and telling you an idea and telling you that, hey, like pay me 1 million, and you have that 1 million, you think you're going to invest without even seeing the product, without having any sort of product team, nothing, just on an idea? No, you're not going to do that. So just keep them in your shoes, and then think about making such decisions. So investors should always be your last resort. As long as you're making your company customer first, you wouldn't even need investors at all. One good, great example in SaaS industry is ConvertKit. They're bootstrapped to $20 million annually in 6 years, and they're bootstrapped even till date. And they are building a product, a customer first product. They're building things what their customers want and not what the investors want. And that's one of the reasons why they've grown so quickly in just 6 years.
Additionally, when you are raising money without even the knowledge of how the market works and how the product works or how to acquire customers, even if you acquire that funding, you will know nothing about how to invest it. So don't run
And
behind
trust
the
me,
investing.
SaaS gets so expensive, if you will have no idea where that money went in just few months.
And when you have a lot of money, you don't get creative with how to use your money. You just throw money at it and you just burn your
Exactly.
money.
Exactly. Like these things are very important. Like raise capital where you have, like, let's say $1 million in ARR. You have come to a point where you now need money to scale. You have
Hmm.
found all the channels, you have found everything. You have come to a stage where, okay, now we actually need money to inject more money, because we are putting in $1 in Facebook ad and we are making $10 back. When you pitch this to an investor, you will see them signing up with you right away. When you show them those figures, you'll like make them like, you'll basically give them the dollar signs in your eyes at that stage, and they would sign up with you right away at that stage. So never ever try to raise money even before knowing what you're doing.
Yeah. Another question. I have a personal question here. Like, are your views on launching your products on Product Hunt and getting traction from indie hackers and all that?
Those are completely fine. I think I did mention that you can go on, launch your product on various platforms like Beta List, Product Hunt, Indie Hackers, PitchGround, AppSumo. You can go on all of these platforms. And when you go on all of these platforms, combining all of these platforms, you'll get and acquire at least like 1,000 customers at the very least for your platform.
And is there any specific strategy would you would follow when you are launching on these platforms?
Nothing. Don't overthink. Just go out there and just start doing things, because the moment like we start overthinking things, it things become very complicated. Just go out there and enjoy the journey, and go on to a channel a month. Just keep on moving to different channels. Just keep on moving to different channels. Just keep on moving to different channels. So that's what you
Mhm.
have to do all the time, because you would never acquire all the customers in the world through one channel. That's just impossible.
Yeah. So Faz, next question.
Yeah, sure.
Please tell some in-depth strategies on Quora we should consider while doing it with SaaS. Do you have any strategies?
Yeah, sure. I actually have one strategy. I wasn't thinking I'm going to share it, but since I like Vinay, I'm going to share it, and I know him since quite some time. So what this is one strategy that I had been implementing. It worked out really well for me. Is write an answer where there are a lot of views already, and
Hmm.
those keywords, those specific keywords, and that question is already ranking on Quora, sorry, on Google for that
Google.
specific keyword. Now I'm going to write a very, very, very long and in-depth answer. Consider it as a blog post, basically, right? A 500 to 1,000 or maybe 2,000 word article. I would just write it down. I'd spend like 4 or 5 hours. And I've done that, by the way. I'll do that. And then I would push that answer using Quora ads. You would be surprised at how many of my answers have landed into email Quora quest, and that has not only
Hmm.
given me views, but that has also given me customers. And as soon as I get into the first 10,000 um, email list, I push more it with ads, and they bump it up to 100,000 emails at that point of stage for
Mm-hmm.
absolutely no money that I'm spending, to a point where once I have enough views, and if it's like now getting organic engagement, I'm done. I shut it down. I shut down that ad.
Yeah,
I
that's
haven't seen a
actually
lot of companies using that.
that the organic part is exactly what I did. So basically, did with our clients. So what we did was we wrote a very in-depth answer, like 1,000 words, 1,200 words long answer. And within the product, we were actually telling them how to use the product itself, like with the images, GIFs, and all that stuff. And in the about first part, we were actually telling them how the product can help it, and why should you choose it over other products. And in the second part, we were actually telling them how to use it, so they don't get confused when they reach on your landing page. And the conversion rate was so high from those views. Like I never thought they will be making $2,000 every month with free answers.
You don't need a lot of answers. You just need to be very strategic in terms of
Yeah,
what you're doing. As long as you're being strategic, just think out of the box. Just try something different, try something new, and you would be surprised at times, like the way things would work. Like, just keep experimenting, because that's what marketing and growth hacking is all about. It's all about experimentation. It's all about testing and testing and testing and testing and constantly testing.
yeah, and you can also refer to the Quora marketing guide from Ahrefs, because they have gone in depth with their research and how to find those actual questions. So there are two types of questions. One is that is getting views from Google search, and there are very few questions that actually get views from Google search. And there are questions which get regular views from Quora search platform itself. So you need to sign up to Quora ad platform, and just type in your keyword or topic, and it will show you which answers are getting how many views every week. And you have to target those answers, because they are getting views in real time. Because when you go to answers that already have views but are not getting views in real time, there's no point on answering those questions. They might be helpful, but they will not make you as much. They will not give you as much visitors or customers as these questions that are actually getting views.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. But again, just go out there, and if you're reading all of these things, go ahead tonight and implement them. Don't just listen and say that I know something new, because that something new would be old tomorrow, because just just now, like I've shared it with so many new people, right? So if those
Yeah,
people,
we just
I'm probably going to share it with more people, and when more people try those things, like we market as ruin growth hacks.
exactly, man. So Fez, can we take another question?
Yeah, sure.
So Vinayak has another question. How important building funnels are, and what are the strategies that can be followed to move our products from top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel?
Um, Again, it will really depend on the product, as I had mentioned earlier. It will really
Mm-hmm.
depend upon your budget. It will really depend on so many factors. You cannot make a generalized funnel plan for anything. Like when you're speaking to a doctor, the doctor is not going to give you a generic medicine. He will or she will listen to your problem, understand your problems, what issues that you're facing. Do you have any related problems? Does like your family has similar problems, and accordingly they'll give you a medicine accordingly. Same goes with marketing as well. Like if I start, I don't want to give any sort of generic answer to something that will not benefit any of you. So if you are asking any question, then if you can be very specific about your business, and mention more about like your specific problem, then you'll actually get the best answers from me that will be more personalized for your business. So in this case, the funnels as well will really depend on so many different factors, like your budget, your accessibility, how big is your team, what product are you selling, where are you selling the product. So there are so many questions that I want to know answer to. before I can like give a genuine, good response that will actually be very effective after you listen to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Vinayak, if you have any specific questions regarding to your product or business, you can ask them. Ask that in the comment section. So Faz, another question, please.
Yeah, this one is covered. I think it is repeat. Okay.
This has been done.
Okay.
What would be the strategy to start a company like Timesheet? Please don't. There are so many people in that space. You can't even count it in your hand.
Um, I would say like if you want to build it, if you want to build a product, my first question is like if you want to start a company like that, if you want to start a tech company, the first thing you need is a tech co-founder. If you're not a developer yourself, then
Hmm.
just go and reach to timesheet and see if they can allow you to resell them. Sure that they'll probably charge you 1,000, $2,000 a month and probably set up a timesheet on your own server, and they would put it on your own domain and things like those. Just go out there and reach out to them. Why do you want to start something from scratch where you have no clue about, and then just start selling because you're a marketer, from what I see. Start selling under your own name. I'm pretty sure the company would be okay with it because the companies care about their sales in the end.
Hmm. So if we have resources which are not generating enough profits, should we replicate someone else's model?
What do you mean by that?
Like let's say someone else in the same industry used a model that worked for them, and whatever I am using is not working right now, even after putting in the resources and all that stuff. Should I go leave my model and go to their replicate their what worked for them?
Yeah, but what worked for them not necessarily mean that it will work for you.
Yeah.
Just because something worked for them doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. There is only one
Okay.
asana. There are 1 million other project management tools as well, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
then there is just one Jira, right? There is one Trello, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this is just an example that I'm giving you that you can go out there and try to replicate, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be a success for you. So there's always so much thing that goes behind after building a product. Is the team, is the people, the ideas, the strategy, how you're implementing things, how you're positioning things. There's so many things that one has to learn. So my recommendation is never try to replicate anyone, because the last thing you don't want to become is just an alternative, and finding ways to make money. Don't focus on making money. Focus on solving problems. As long as you change
Mm-hmm.
that mindset, you will make a ton of money. I generally get about like 200 or 300 messages from different people every day about different things, right? Am I
Mm-hmm.
doing any sort of outreach to close them as a customer? No, I'm not doing that, right? I'm able to solve answers right away. You have a question around marketing and SaaS, ask me. I can give you an answer right away. I don't need any sort of like tutorial to read or anything, and then I'm going to customize things for you, right? I can give those answers best because like I'm a very good problem solver in what I do. So become a good problem solver. As long as you're becoming that, trust me, you would generate enough profits after that. So try to chase to solve a problem and not money. That would be my answer to that question.
Yeah. And one thing what I would add is like you should start engaging in multiple communities around your industry, because what happens is people engage over there, people share their problems, and many people are having same problems. And they want a product for that, and that is how you can find a product fit in the market that you couldn't even think of earlier. So when you engage with people, like you must have मतलब एक बार दिमाग में हमेशा ये आता है कि काश ये चीज होती, and you have to find that in the market. When you find it, many people are saying that thing for a specific problem, you can build that solution for them.
Definitely, definitely. Again, like there are so many things I would say that one can do, one can implement, one can strategize with. Just take some time. Like don't rush into anything. Just take some
Hmm.
time and try to understand what the problem is. Because like I said, as long as you're solving a problem, you would always make money.
Yep. So Faz, Other question, please.
Yeah, I think that's all questions we had today.
Let me check.
Yep.
So there is another question from, I guess, Vinayak at 10:39 p.m. See.
He actually, just now he commented that that is like an answer.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask one thing. I guess we should be asking that question because Udit, how can actually PitchGround help these founders that are just starting in this industry? They they have a good market fit, but they are not able to get those initial customers. How can PitchGround help them?
So PitchGround, this is where PitchGround really comes into picture because we work with
Mhm,
a lot of first-time SaaS founders. We work with a lot of like early stage SaaS founders to begin with. We really try to understand what their problems are. We
mhm,
try to make them a product market fit first before going live, because we understand the market very well, I would say, and we really understand how we can really solve the problem of people. And at the same time, we have built an audience around it who are looking for solutions, and we're constantly growing on that. So this is where
mhm,
PitchDrown can really come into picture and help you acquire your first 500,000, 2,000, 3,000, or even 5,000 customers in a matter of just few months, depending upon the quality of your product, depending on your UI, UX, um, depending on how good your product is, how big is your market cap. So all of these things really makes a lot of difference, and then based on that, the overall sales are really defined.
okay. And are there any prerequisites for people that you choose? Like there should
Uh,
are there
just
any?
have a good, just have a good working product. That's all we care about. As long as you have a good working product that is not buggy at all, that's all that we look into to begin with all the conversations. After that, like we do some of our own research around the product, the founder, because there is a lot of trust that is associated, and that's where like the relationship gets built because it's going to be a long term
Mhm,
journey. Like you basically are getting like married to us at that point of stage, because while we are helping you to get started, we're helping you to work on all those aspects. You can keep focusing on really building up your product at that point of stage, because those are the initial challenges. And our mission of the company is very clear that we want to help you reach to your first $1 million in revenue
mhm,
over a course of 2 to 3 years of time. So that's the mission
mhm.
that we are working towards, and so far we have been making a great progress every single month.
That's awesome, man. So we have one more question. Uh, how to choose the brand name? Is it important in SaaS to choose right name, or how do you pick your name as PitchGround?
Definitely, brand name is everything. Like I'm a big time domainer. I'm so addicted to buying domains. I think I probably buy like 30, 40 domains every month, even though I have no use of it, just because I like the name. So brand name is very crucial, and plays a very, very major role in terms of sales, in terms of brand awareness. The way I came up with the name PitchGround was because what our platform is really doing is it's allowing SaaS companies to pitch to the end customers, and the end
Mm-hmm,
customers are basically the ground. That's what we are associating with.
mm-hmm,
So basically, like we are giving you that ground, that platform to pitch to hundreds and thousands of these businesses who would like your product, and you are able to solve their problems, and they would sign up with your product through our platform. So that's how the name PitchGround originated. However, the PitchGround is still a brand name. The parent
mm-hmm.
company's name is that's Little SaaS,
Little
and the
SaaS.
way I came up with the name Little SaaS was because I'm looking to help out these companies who are just starting out, who are like early stage companies, and we are trying to solve problems for small businesses who cannot afford to buy those expensive softwares. Right? Not everyone can pay $500, $1,000 a month for a software. So that is where the name Little SaaS came into picture, where PitchGround is one of our brand.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. So we have one last question. So I am helping an edtech company in generating leads. Previously, the CPL was 180 INR, and I am generating leads at a CPL of 9 to 10 INR. But I want to know how to create funnels for leads who are not buying.
So if someone is not buying from you, just need to keep experimenting with them and keep trying new things at that point of stage. Because what I always believe is if someone is not buying from you, then that means there are two reasons. Either they're not the right audience or they don't trust you enough. Those are the two only reasons why someone would not buy from you. So you have to first of all identify which kind of audience uh, uh, is classified among that non-paying custom or non-paying user. Are they just signing up because they're just curious and they have no need for it, or they actually do not trust you enough right now? So once you segment that audience further, then I would say skip on the first sort of audience completely, because if someone is not even looking for product, you're wasting your time, energy, and money chasing them to try to convert them, even though if they don't need that product. So, for example, if I'm going to pitch you for a camera and you don't even do live sessions, you don't take photos, you hate taking videos, you are a
Mhm,
wrong audience for me. Why would I
mhm,
spend 1 year of my life trying to educate you that look, this is the advantages of it, when there are millions of other people who are constantly looking to go live, who are looking to improve their workflows, who are looking to start recording videos? I would go and target them and I would sell my camera to them at that point of stage. So start focusing on the second sort of an audience. Now, will you buy the camera from me right away? Maybe not, because you don't know my brand yet, you do not trust my brand yet, you do not trust whether I would be able to deliver the results and potential promises that I'm making as a product developer. Now I have to start convincing. So this is where the sales game really begin. Like there's this one-to-one nurturing. There are webinars that you can potentially do. You can start. They would be in your newsletter. Start sending them blog posts, valuable contents. And in sales, you have to build at least a minimum of 7 touch points in order to really sell them. So build those
mhm.
7 different unique touch points with those people who are interested but not trusting you enough to make the purchase. So once you segment that, then scale up from there further. So that's how you can constantly segment the audience. So that's why I mentioned in one of my answers that you need to personalize your marketing today. If you're not
Mhm.
personalizing your marketing today, then it's going to be very difficult for you to increase your conversion rate. So as long as you're focusing on this personalization, segment all kinds of audience that you have in your email marketing software, whatever software you're using, it doesn't matter. Segment each and every audience, why they have signed up, where they have signed up from, and what are they looking for. You need to have that sorted, and you need to give them a clear expectation as well. And as long as those expectations are matched, you will always be able to sell them.
Perfect. So we got one more question. How did you decided your product price range, and can you share some ideas how to choose product price? Like pricing products is one of the very important things. We know that, but
It's actually a very, very, very wide topic. That is
yeah,
like its own webinar, to be very honest with you.
exactly.
But I'll try to keep it very short. Uh, when you're starting out, your first focus should be breaking even,
Hmm.
no matter the cost. Don't look into the pricing at that point of stage, right? Even if you have to offer the product for a little low price, do it, because you cannot run a company in losses, right? You have to break even. And I always tell this to any SaaS company that I consult with or I speak with this, or myself as well, that breaking even is so very important, because without that there is no business. You cannot just keep putting money and just keep putting money and just keep putting money, because one day the funds will dry out and you will end up closing the business in several losses. So whenever you're starting out, price it. Just look some of your competitors, what they're offering, and just lower down your price a bit, because when it comes to SaaS, the actual cost is actually very low. Once your tech is really built up, you can go up to making, if you're not spending anything on marketing or anything in general, and if you even like lower down on your spend on developers to a point where you have the product ready and you slow down your development, you can work at like almost 90 to 95% margin, because your server cost is ridiculously low. So the margins are very high The reasons why a lot of SaaS companies work on low margin is because they have to spend a lot of money on marketing and sales. So like the salespeople can get very expensive, the marketing can get very expensive, ads are getting very expensive. So that's where all the margin really goes and dries out. But in general, like even after all those things, like SaaS companies can pretty much operate at like 40% margins very easily, like very easily. So I would say like calculate your server cost, calculate your developer cost, and let's take an example that that total cost is coming down to $2,000 per month. So that's $24,000, which is the bare minimum that you need in order to survive for first year, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see um, whether I would aim to acquire 20 customers at $100 a month, or I'm gonna potentially aim for let's say 200 customers at $10 per month, right? What is
Mhm.
more sustainable for me? I'm gonna do that because when you have SaaS, you're just selling the licenses and you're just scaling up the server. That's it. There's no other typical cost that is involved. Like there is no operational cost or anything in those general unless until you start adding like support costs and all of those things. Now, if you're really worried about
Mhm.
all those costs, then try to price it on a higher end. So that way you have low customers and high paying customers versus like low cost versus like a lot of customers and a low pricing. So you have to balance that out and choose which one do you want to opt for. And depending upon which option do you opt for, price your product. But again, price it to a point where your first goal is to break even. Once you are breaking even, you are the king of your niche already. From there, you know how to scale up already and start making profits from there.
Perfect, man. Perfect. So thank you. It was an amazing session. It was amazing discussing SaaS marketing with you. So one last question. How can people reach out to you? Where can people find you? And if someone want to work with PitchGround, how can they do that?
I'm pretty much everywhere, so I'm very easy to connect with. But you can reach out to me, or you can just send me an email at udit@pitchround.com, or you can send it to our support, which is support@pitchround.com. And would love to connect with you over there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm very active over there. So just look for iuditg on Twitter. You will be able to find me pretty easily. Or if you are on Facebook, then you can just look for Udit Goenka official. You'll be able to find me pretty easily. But emails are potentially the best way because I pretty much have like my emails on all the time.
Mhm. Awesome, man. So one last thing, guys. If you like this session and enjoyed it, learn from it, make sure you share it in the Noble group because Dinu was the one behind arranging all these sessions. I was just the host here. So make sure you share your feedback in the Noble group. And once again, man, thank you.
Awesome. And if you guys really enjoyed the session, then please drop a comment after this video and let me know like if you've got even 1% value out of it. Because if you've gotten at least a minimum of 1% value after spending 2 hours on this live session, then that will really make my day.
And thank you very much, both of you, for such an energetic session. Okay,
Thank you, Faiz, for
thank you.
organizing this.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. See you then, man.
Awesome. Thank you